Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. So today I'm going to be watching a video, mind-blowing beauty hacks and makeup tricks you should try. I'm probably going to assume that you shouldn't try them, but we will see. But just before we get into that today, if this is your first time here, hi, my name is Robert. I'm a professional makeup artist here on YouTube and also in real life. It's my goal to help you become a pro yourself or just someone who is really good at makeup. So if that sounds like something you are interested in, then do please consider subscribing. As I always like to say in these videos, there are no rules to individuality and creativity, but makeup most definitely has a theory, and sometimes some things we see online are for entertainment purposes only and don't quite fit in with that theory when you try to do it in real life and it doesn't all work out. So let's go ahead and watch this video. Mind-blowing beauty hacks and makeup tricks. Okay, so for this video, right, she has coffee that's just kind of like warmed up on a spoon, whatever, and she's flicking it on her face with a toothbrush. Listen, flicking like some kind of makeup onto your face with a toothbrush is a great like freckles hack, right? Because it sporadically puts those freckles onto your face. And one thing that looks really obvious when you're trying to do fake freckles is we almost like in our minds subconsciously put freckles on in like a pattern and it can look really fake. So this is a good way. However, coffee is pretty much water. It's going to be absorbed by the skin and you're not going to be left with this kind of color. Best thing to do would be scrape off some eyeshadow onto like a palette, add a little bit of hydrating mist, tiny bit, and then use a toothbrush, because this is going to look okay and then it's going to like absorb into the skin and you won't see any of your hard work. I need to powder my face. Powder my face before I get stressed out. I know what these videos are like. Okay, so one, that's not, they just swatched it on their hand and then showed us it on their lip. Like, this is what, excuse me, that is not what it's going to look like. It's always going to be, you're not going to get that perfect line. There are brands that make this kind of like, lip balm, like Laneige, for example, but you don't get a perfect line like that. And that's matte. Her lip is now matte and the lipstick before wasn't it? It was glossy. Do people believe that this is actually what happened? Do people believe this? I don't get that. That's how you put it on anyway. Like you should just bit down on it and put the colour on, like how's that a hack? Nothing happened. Nothing happened there. Nothing happened, right? And that product was like a cream before. Listen, creams are fine to use in your brow and like strokes and things like that. But to stamp it on over your whole brow, one, you're going to go over your actual brow and it's going to look weirdly creamy. And two, it's not going to be able to get like under, like for example, if I did that on my brows, it would just sit on the hair on top and not be able to get through to the bottom underneath. And it also that didn't do anything. There are those stencils that do that, which I think are great if you have fine brows. Actually, I don't think they're great. That's a lie. I actually think they're really stupid because I think a lot of people are more than able to draw on their own brows. We saw that one go under the tape, right? Like it wouldn't have been that. It wouldn't have been like that. Here's the deal. You don't need tape to be a stencil for your lips. Just apply your lipstick. If you mess up, you can easily remove a little bit of a lipstick, or even with reds, you can use concealer on an angle brush and go along the edge of that lip and really tidy it up. Stencil. if you leave a bathroom with it looking really shit. That's actually okay. Here's the deal though. If you want your lipstick to be non-transfer proof, not that you're going to cover, like, I hate this fucking thing. Clear translucent powder first of all over the lip. You don't want to use one with colour in. It also doesn't have to be mineral powder. It can be any kind of powder. And then you really want to tap it in or push it in with like an eyeshadow brush, like either a blending brush or like a flat one, because you really want to push that powder into the lip so it becomes part of the formula of a lipstick almost. You don't just want it to sit on top. You want it to be like in there, you know? I personally wouldn't, just because the formula of a pencil isn't as smooth as maybe a powder or a liquid or like one of those brown mascaras, so it doesn't necessarily drag evenly throughout the eyebrow. Yeah, especially a waxier eye pencil that's maybe made to be a little bit more water resistant on initial application, not something that dries down to being water resistant. It wouldn't take to the brow as easy as that did. All they've done is brushed them up. In that previous like clip, her eyebrows were brushed down. Of course they're going to look like crap if you brush them down. Here's the deal, right, with red around the eye by itself, like just pure red by itself, is it can look a bit eye infection-y or a little bit sore. You know, sometimes if you use like an eyeshadow, it has that like red undertone to it, and then you go and wash it off and it stained your eyes. It kind of gives that look just by itself, and especially when it's a little bit shiny, it kind of looks like, ooh, you got really sore skin, almost like you've like caught your skin while you're waxing your brows, you know? So maybe like a purple or an orange always looks nice, but pure red like that, especially a pinky red, can look a little bit questionable. Also, that kind of texture on the lid, like a lipstick texture, can separate and crease easier on the lid. Not saying you can't do it, because sometimes it looks great as monochromatic, but maybe powder on top and use a really good base underneath. What did that have to do with beauty hacks? Now, bear in mind, this video is about mind-blowing beauty hacks you should try. I wouldn't recommend trying this one. One, it's a waste of makeup on like, if you're gonna draw it on there, you might as well just draw it straight onto your face. It doesn't save you any extra time, you know what I mean? And also, it doesn't, you're gonna have to add more makeup to it. I don't know. Where do people come up with this shit? That's actually not a bad hack. However, you don't need a brush that dense and slim to do your contour. Otherwise, it's going to look like a solid straight line. If you're buffing it on anyway, you might as well just be blending it out. You know what I mean? Okay, so that technique went a bit viral recently, right? But here's my only, and you probably heard me talk about this, here's my only thing with that technique is when, so you put all the shades on, fine. The hard part, or the difficult part that some people find difficult with eye makeup, and what that hack is trying to suggest it makes easier, is the blending part. We put all these colors here, blend them, and you know, the blending part is the difficult part. Applying the color to the lid isn't difficult. So then you have to blend however many colors they just put in there all together without it going muddy, because you've just packed about 4 or 5 colors on the lid, whereas usually you use 2 or 3 and then like 1 through the socket. And you can even see in the end image, it's not even blended up the top, it's a solid line. So that doesn't really fix anything. It doesn't fix It doesn't make blending easier. It doesn't make eye makeup easier. It just is like, I guess, time saving. But even still, it takes longer to blend it all out. Always start with a shade through the socket, and then do a shade on the outside corner, middle, and then inside corner. Done. And then gently buff over with a blending brush. That's all you need to do. You don't need to line them all up like that. Well, there it is again. Whatever that was. I would love to know if people actually, have you ever tried anything from one of these hack videos and thought, oh my God, and then like implemented it into your real life? Let me know, because I don't know what to say about any of those. Surely people can't, people can't look at them and be like, I'm going to try it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I have a whole playlist of reaction videos for you to check out. So do that. Give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.